desperate reality. Choices that either spring us forward in the evolutionary process or threaten to do us in as a species. Let us respond to these words of Judicanatos with words from our Constitution. We are a dedicated community of faith and service, which exists to praise God and minister to people. Drawing on our own rich heritage and desiring to carry it forward into the future, we dedicate ourselves to Jesus Christ in his unique person and to the new creation for which he died and rose. I know not what to say to impress you sufficiently with the sacredness of your calling. As Sisters of Loretto, our lives are founded upon a profound act of faith in the enduring love of God and a need to share this love. To believe firmly in God's love means we must be able to receive a gift, to make a decision, and to trust human beings, both oneself and others. Belonging to this community of persons who believe in Jesus Christ and who believe in one another supports and strengthens the faith of each one of us. At the same time, community faith cannot substitute for individual integrity of belief, for each one's need to seek and follow the truth. We will now pray a decade of the Rosary, beginning with the first joyful mystery, the Annunciation. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit. Ubi caritas et amor. Ubi caritas Deus ibi. We'll take a couple of minutes to set up the microphone, and then we'll begin our sharing. We'll begin with the people at the Mother House and then move on to other centers.
Sister Lois Dunphy. I was in the same class with Sister Carina, novitiate class. We called ourselves the Seven Dolors because there were 7 of us. Sister Ellen Mary Godfrey, Julia Dooling, Rosalie Elliott, Carina, a Wheatley girl whose name I can't remember, Marie Catherine Pondorf, and I, the youngest. I'm the sole survivor of that group right now. But I enjoyed Carina whenever I was with her and had a chance to spend some time with her in St. Louis when she lived there. We would go on walks and talk about old times.
Carina was probably one of the most beautiful women I've met. I lived with her at Arlington, Virginia in the late 50s and early 60s. And I really didn't get to know her well then. I do remember envying the most beautiful art projects that she would do with her 7th grade class. She could just draw creativity out of those kids. It was marvelous. But I really got to know Carina more when she lived at 590. And there's many things to admire about her. Taking up this whole new career of art in her late years, and did such a beautiful job of it. But I think the thing I admired most about Carina, and there were many things, was her complete openness to her God life. She wasn't afraid to talk about her relationship with God and what it meant to her. And like the quote from the book of Judy's tonight, she'd read a chapter, and the next time you'd meet her, she'd want to talk all about that chapter and tell you what she had read. Several years ago, Elaine gave a talk at the 590 about the chakras, and Carina became completely absorbed and read the book. There were some CDs that came with it, and every time I would go there, she would tell me something new she learned from that book. She was a beautiful person, and I'm sure she's radiant with God tonight.
I'm Sister Valerie Novak, and I've been living with Carina ever since she retired from Narings in the year 2000. That's when I moved to 590. About 2 weeks ago, you all met Sister Janet Ryan, a Clinton, Iowa Franciscan, who was out in the the retreats. And Janet is a very special person. And she was here for a week, and she, of course, had lived this past year with Carina, and so she wanted to see Carina. Carina was already in her final illness. And when Janet was leaving, she told me this last night, that when she was taking leave of Carina, Carina said to her, "Pray that I am faithful to my God." So I was thinking, here, I want to represent the residents of 590, and what can I say about Carina? And then I thought about that, and I thought, I don't know anybody who's more faithful. She's faithful in so many things. Started to make a list. And so, let's see. All these years, and up to this last illness, really, she assisted in the chapel, and she took care of altar linens. She was there always to do that. Let's see, she was our resident artist. She was always there for AM and PM prayer. She was in charge of guests, you know, everybody who came to 590. The arrangements were made by Carina up until just about a year or a year and a half ago. I'm sorry, but I always get shaky when I do this. She took care of guests, all the assigning the rooms. Now we have 3 or 4 people who, you know, the job is divided up. Carina did it. She was faithful. Let's see. She made all those arrangements. She was a companion at cards every night. She encouraged anyone she could get to do yoga with her. And she'd been doing yoga for I don't know how many years. People come, they do yoga for a little while, and then they don't continue. Carina was doing yoga till the day she left. So, it was just all kinds of things. Faithful in everything. And she was asking for prayer, that she would be faithful to God to the end. So anyway, God bless Carina. We hold her in our hearts.
Nancy Whitwer from 590. And I'll tell you, Carina was so much fun. In fact, she was my favorite ping pong partner. And Michelle also. But I'll tell you, Carina she just loved it. She loved having fun. And she was in love with the universe. Every bit of new learning there was around the universe, she was reading it all. I was reading some of it too, but the difference was she could remember it, and she could explain it to everybody who wanted to know anything about it. She was a marvel, just a person who had such vital interest in life and in everyone and everything around her. She was truly someone to be admired and to model our own life after. I loved her. I forgot this. This is the main reason I came up here. In her later years, she came upon a quote that she just loved, and she made copies of this on little prayer cards and handed them out to everyone. And the quote is, "May the power of love overcome the love of power. Then the world will know peace."
I was in the novitiate with Sister Carina, but many years went by until I really saw her, which is really only recently, when we were working on creating a Loretto community prayer book. And some of us, the committee was meeting in St. Louis. I spent a lot of time visiting with her then, and Carina showed me some of her art. And so when we started assembling the material into a notebook, Martha Alderson, I said, be sure to use as many of Carina's pictures as you can. I'm sorry they're not any clearer than they are, but they really are lovely. And so I'd like to give you one of those books before you leave so you can see some of the things that she did. Thank you.
I'm Pat. I have been friends with Carina for, well, ever since 1968. We lived together at Maplewood, the last two Sisters of Loretto to live together. And I mean, we were in the convent all by ourselves, but we had a lot of fun. And so then of course I lived with her at 590. And I thought I lived with her at St. Anne's in Normandy, but I think I just met her a couple times when I went over there. But you'll hear more about my feelings tomorrow at the homily.
Alicia Ramirez. I knew Carina only from visiting 590, and she was the epitome of hospitality. She didn't just make a bed. She always came around to see if we needed anything, and I'll tell you, she was just so gracious. And her yoga she was also interested in healing touch and foot massage. So we did a lot of comparing of notes and practiced on each other. So I appreciate just those few times I got to be with her.
I'm Kathy Vetter. I'm an Incarnate Word sister, and I'm Carina's niece. My dad was her brother. And as a child growing up, Carina would come for visits in the summertime, and there would always be a sister who would come with her. And of course, she would be at Grandma's house, and we were kids, and whoever, and I don't know who accompanied her, but they would very graciously come and play with the kids and let Carina be with the adults, I guess. So I didn't know her well then, except that usually she would have, a medal or something for all the kids. But as I've gotten older and as she has gotten older, when I've been living in St. Louis now for some time, and when Carina sort of quit driving to Jefferson City, I would often drive her, pick her up, and we would go together, and I would drop her off at her sister's, and then I would go to my family and visit, and then we would drive back. So I had 5 or 6 hours in the car with her on a regular basis. And as we shared our common religious lifestyle, and as changes were happening in the church and the books that we were reading, I loved the conversations we had because, as someone mentioned, Carina was always reading, and she was always in any book discussion. So when we'd get in the car, I'd say, okay, what have you just read? And then I would get a copy later. But we had marvelous conversations about God, about our God relationships, about religious life, just so many wonderful things. And she's so loving, and she just got deeper and deeper into my heart. And I'm going to miss that piece a lot. But I have some wonderful memories too. And one of the things I'd like to say is that in March, when she had to go into the hospital, and actually where she was in the hospital was very close to where I work, so I would slip over there at least every day, and twice if I could. And the morning she was leaving, I was over there at the hospital to tell her goodbye, and she was so anxious to get out of that hospital. And we got out to the car, and I had a loaf of bread. From my mother, I learned to bake bread, and I love it. So it was a gift. And I said, you may not even want this. I need to give it, whether you need to have it. So we got her in the back seat, and she had the bread. And I was hugging her, and I was kissing her, and I was telling her I love her. And finally she said, just close the door. So I got that message. But she is so very dear, and I cherish that. And the other piece of all this is I have grown to cherish the Sisters of Loretto. And so all of you are so very dear to me also because of the women that you are. I know she wouldn't be the woman she is if it weren't for the community that she's a part of. And I feel so honored to be here in Kentucky for the first time and see your roots and hear the stories, because it's very much a part, I believe, of who I am as a member of her family and your family. So thank you for your goodness, and I know I'm always welcome here. And you're always welcome with the Incarnate Word Sisters too.
My name's Tom Jones, and Carina's my aunt, my mother's sister. And Carina was always so special. And as I heard of all the different places she was at, the St. Anne jogged a memory, because I know we visited her several times when we were real young kids. But that particular time, I had poison ivy so bad, and the doctor had me wrapped in plastic. And we were going to St. Louis, St. Anne's, to visit Carina. And I was just miserable. I didn't want to be anywhere. And yet when we got there, I remember we had like a picnic lunch sitting outside, and it was so much fun, I completely forgot all about it. And I hadn't thought about that until I just heard where she was at in St. Anne's. And then subsequent to that, off and on, whenever we'd visit, she just had such energy, and I always took interest in anything you were doing or anything you were involved in, always wanting to know, very friendly. In the last several years, my sister and I would go up and visit her at Christmas time or for her birthday. And there again, showing us the puzzles, showing us all the wind-up animals and stuff. And it's just like she couldn't show us enough to make us welcome. And I'm going to miss those times. I'm going to miss Carina. She was just a beautiful person, and we love her and going to miss her.
I think that's the end of our sharing here at the Mother House. Nicole, we'll turn it over to you.
Is there anyone from St. Louis who would like to speak?
This is Barbara Roach, and I just want to mention a couple of things from the time when I worked with Carina at Nearings. The very first summer I arrived, Carina and a wonderful mom named Doe Rice introduced me to the wonders of selling the students their new books every beginning of the school year. And this was a task that required not only incredibly meticulous record keeping, but also you had to lug boxes of books in August in St. Louis and sell them for 2 days in the unair-conditioned cafeteria at Nearings. And Carina told me that first year that this was going to be her last year doing it. So she was very intent on teaching me how I could do all of these things. And it was an inspiration. This was before computers. So she really had it down to a science, and it was amazing to me that 500 students all got their books and got credit for the used books that they turned in and everything else. So the second thing that I remember about that time at Nearings was that Carina's sister always made a beautiful quilt for our auction every single year. So about 3 weeks or 4 weeks before the auction, Carina would come to my office with usually a big plastic trash bag with this incredibly gorgeous quilt in it. And that was always the highlight of the Nearings auction. It was one of the items that went really. I think Carina could be sometimes so quiet and self-effacing that it took me a while to realize everything that was going on with her. And it was always a joy for me to see her in the hall, to stop and talk with her, to have the opportunity, as so many people have said, to just see what she was thinking about and doing these days. So I loved working with her. It was a real joy.
Marianne, I just want to say a little bit more about that quote, when the power of love overcomes the love of power, then the world will know peace. And Barbara Nicholas said to Carina, well, who said that? And Carina said, well, I don't know. So Barbara Googled it and said, it was Jimi Hendrix. Well, who is Jimi Hendrix? So Carina read about, I think it was Jimi Hendrix's father who wrote his biography, but she went and got it and read it. And then she was very excited because there was going to be a TV special about him, and she hadn't heard any of his music. So she was looking forward to it, and she knew he was a rock star. So she's told a lot of people, and I watched it too. And yes, he was a rock star. He lived quite a life, a good life, but quite a rock star life. So the next time I saw her, I said, did you watch it? And she said, oh, I did. It was just amazing. I am so glad I saw it. You know, he had such a different life than anything that I've known about, but he was such a good man and such a good thinker. And she was so open and then so delighted, because then family came to celebrate her birthday, and she said, I had something to talk about with the younger members, and a couple of them are really Jimi Hendrix fans too.
Mary Jo from 590. And when Val was talking about all the things that Carina did, I think I could relate to every one of those things, plus probably many more that we'll never know about, because she did so many things so unobtrusively that we almost could take her for granted here at 590, but we have been unraveling really without her here. She was such a part of us. But then I also am thinking that besides Carina's doing, and she did so many things, it was more her being that has touched me since I've known her. She was such a beautiful presence here. And the book that I understood from her that really led her to becoming an artist in her late years was Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain. Somehow I remembered her talking about that. And so I looked in that book to see, well, was there anything in there that would say something to me about Carina? And then I found a couple of sentences that said, an individual's ability to draw is perhaps mainly controlled by their ability to shift to a different from ordinary way of seeing. And I think that's what Marianne was just talking about too. By looking not at what they wanted to see, but seeing what was really there. And I just feel every time, I guess any of us were with Carina, we came away feeling better, whatever she did. And probably because she did see us, who we really were. And she never tried to make somebody into something that we weren't. So, and then when Eleanor read that line from the letter that Carina wrote before she entered, I wonder, what was it? I wonder if you will have me. I just thought, boy, I wonder if Carina, I could just picture Carina in these last days of her life saying to God, you know, I wonder if you will have me. And I can just also picture God's answer.
Mary Pius Fagan. Three things have come to my mind, and some have already alluded to them. The one was whenever you met Carina, she would say, Pius, you have to read this book. And she would then engage you in a conversation about what she was reading. And I marveled at that at her age, that she could be so open-minded to everything new. The second thing was, I leave here, I do a little helping out on Wednesday, and I leave here rather late. And Carina was in charge of closing, checking every door in the building. And one night leaving, I said to Mary Jo, my God, she's the oldest one in the community, and she's the one checking the doors. I said, it's a marvel. Then Kathy Vedder, her niece, alluded to the day we brought her down to Kentucky. And it was a chilly morning, and so at the stop, she was rather quilted in the back seat. And so it was tough to get the seat belt connected. and I was struggling to get the seatbelt hooked on around her. And so I just leaned in and I said, Carina, my God, we're so close to each other. We could be doing anything back here. Joking. And so she grabbed my neck and pulled me and kissed me. She said, now they can talk about us, Pius.
I'm Matthew. I'm a St. Louis volunteer. We only got to know Carina for 10 months, but I'm so glad that we came this year and not next year, because now we can carry her with us wherever we go.
Is that everyone from St. Louis who would like to speak? Okay, anyone from El Paso who would like to speak?
Yeah. This is Liz Dinas, El Paso, and I got to spend the month of June at the Mother House. I had to come home yesterday. While we were sitting with Carina, I had a chance to be able to go in and be by her bedside for a while. And as a representative of my class, I let her know how much Donna and Annie and I appreciated her love and concern, her steady, everything's going to be okay attitude about things. Carina was just absolutely one of my rocks. And it's when everybody, when it all boils down to it, the way we are in community with one another is fleshed out in love and in patience, in concern, and in just being good and just being there. So I need to say thank you to Carina for that, for the gift of self and selflessness to us. Also, she liked jigsaw puzzles. I couldn't stand them, but I know she loved them. So maybe I'll go out and buy a little jigsaw puzzle and try to put it together in Carina's honor. Anyhow, thank you, Carina. Love you. And that's it.
Is there anyone else who's viewing who would like to speak? If so, go ahead and unmute yourself and start talking.
Hi, my name's Betty Markway. I'm Carina's niece. My mother was the one that made the quilts for the fundraiser every year, and also my brother Tom and I and my son were at 590 on Carina's birthday when she was talking about Jimi Hendrix. And my son, who's 33 and has some CDs of Jimi Hendrix, was just grinning and laughing, because who would have thought that he would have this wonderful discussion about Jimi Hendrix in a convent with a 94-year-old nun, And Carina always, I don't know, I think Carina just connected with the person whomever she was talking to. I think that has come across in each person that's spoken this evening. I do prison ministry, and Carina always wanted to know how that was going, and always wanted to engage in that conversation. And I took Carina's quote into the prison, the Jimi Hendrix quote, may the power of love overcome the love of power and the world have peace. When I told the men Jimi Hendrix said that quote after talking about my aunt, the nun, they loved it. And I even had a couple of men months later say that they had and show me that they had written that quote in their folder, and they're making that a part of their life. So Carina didn't just touch us. I mean, she's just touched so many people that she will never even know about. I think that the word love essentially sums up Carina. That reading that you did from, was it Radical Amazement? I had never heard that before, but I thought it was quite appropriate. I had heard that when Carina was on her way to Kentucky, she said that she had a new vocation in life now, and that was to love. And I just think that that is who Carina was. I had real sadness in April, the end of April. My husband died very unexpectedly, and I talked to Carina, and it upset her. But she kept saying, oh, I just send peace and love. I just send peace and love. I just send peace and love. And those weren't just words. I know she was sending that in her prayers and in her goodness and kindness and her thoughts. So I just think that that is who Carina is. And yes, somebody talked about the glory of Carina in heaven, and I can see that bright light shining wonderfully up there. She's very dear, very special. She will be missed. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak? Okay, Mother House, back to you.
Thank you all.